Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Campus Conversations, the Shawnee Community College podcast. I am joined this week by Tina Dudley, who is the Executive Assistant to President Tim Taylor and the Saints Foundation of Shawnee Community College. You have a very long title, probably the longest title of anyone here at this college, I think.
I'm used to long titles, though.
And we're going to talk more. Obviously, cereal is the topic this week, and we're talking Captain Crunch, but we're going to get into that conversation and learn more about Tina and what she does here at Shawnee Community College as well. So I guess let's start right off the bat and get a little bit of background. Who is Tina Dudley?
Oh, how far back you want to go? I
Well, you're from Southern Illinois,
I'm
right? Or you're raised in Southern Illinois?
Yes, I wasn't born here, but I was raised here.
Okay.
So originally, how far back? I mean, you want to go back to 1968?
Let's go back to 68.
We'll go back to Let's go back to 67.
Okay.
When my parents' high school sweethearts married. There you
Okay.
go. And then I was born the next year in Florida. I'm an Air Force baby.
Okay.
I cost all of about $7 because, they're free.
Yeah.
So back then, my mom ate $7 worth of food. So thank you, United States Air Force.
I never realized that
Yeah.
about you. So, and as we're recording this, we're recording in advance for the upcoming holiday break here at Shawnee Community College. But you've also celebrated a birthday. So
Yes.
happy early birthday as we record, but belated birthday as this is airing for folks.
Of course, and I already started celebrating this week, so it's all good.
And I think part of your celebration was picking Captain Crunch. Was it? Talk to me about the nostalgia. We're talking about you as a child, so what is the nostalgia? Because that looks like an old school box. I don't know if they've reverted back to the old Captain or what.
So I thought really long and hard about what cereal I was going to choose.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, cereal was a big part of our life. Grape nuts, hated them.
I love grape nuts.
Oh, they just get stuck in your teeth. Frosted Mini Wheats was another big one. Back in the day when they had the red box and the biscuits were huge.
Yeah.
Not these mini things that you get now. And of course, the old trusty Raisin Bran.
Yes.
None of those were my favorites. Because as a kid, you want the ones loaded with sugar.
Right.
That cereal. And so the grocery stores, is it going to bother you if I talk with my hands?
No, go right ahead.
People say I can't talk unless my hands are, so I'll just sit on them. So Fruity Pebbles was actually my favorite, but since Dr. Shelby has laid claim to Fruity Pebbles, I defer to her so she can enjoy those.
Spoiler alert, in the future we'll be talking, we'll be talking with Dr. Kristen Shelby, and she has selected Fruity Pebbles, but...
She called it during the meeting, so it's in the minutes.
It's official.
It's official. So then I thought, well, gosh, my real favorite is a cereal called O's. And it is actually a Quaker brand, much like Captain Crunch. And I can't find them anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. So I haven't tried Amazon.
That was almost a pun there. I said "oh" in response to you not being able to find O's and didn't mean to do that. So.
And it was the best. It's kind of a Captain Crunch, but the middle of the O also had like flakes of nuts, and I thought it was healthy.
Was that Honey Bunches of O's?
No.
Okay, that's a different one.
It's just
I remember
called
Honey Bunches
O's.
of O's. Okay.
It was in a yellow box, had a big O and an apostrophe S.
Okay, okay.
And it was enlarged to show detail. So.
Sure. So Captain Crunch, actually, I didn't realize this. I did do a little research before the show. 60 years ago, 1963, Captain Crunch made his debut, or its debut. Several variations, and there are still some on the market, but there have been tons through the years. What is we've got the, original. To me, what is the
classic?
It's the classic. It's the Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries, because there is a version without Crunch Berries, which I don't know who is eating that.
The Crunch Berry version?
No, the one without Crunch Berries.
Me.
Oh, is that what this is?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was I didn't look at the box. This is the original. Okay, well, this is going to be new.
I do not care for the I'm not a Crunch Berry.
So you're not an Oops All Berries fan?
No, I'm not an Oops All Berries, no matter the Halloween version of it or the Christmas version of it. They seem...
Really?
And there's also a peanut butter Captain Crunch.
There's peanut butter. There is a chocolate caramel one, which I think is kind of new. There are several varieties of instant oatmeal, pancake mix, pancake syrup.
With Captain Crunch?
With Captain Crunch. It's all berry based, though. It's all about the berries. They also, and I think this is where the plane or the original comes into play, the Captain Crunch website has recipes, and you can make chicken fingers, and
you crunch them up like a coating.
Very interesting. I would have never thought to do that, but somebody. Well, I guess back in the day you had the what was it? The potato casserole with cornflakes on top. So I guess this makes sense.
Yeah, you could use Captain Crunch and a stick of butter because everything's better with butter.
Better with butter, yes. Butter with butter, better with butter. So. Not a Crunchberry fan.
No.
Okay. Very interesting.
These are dangerous enough. Eating Captain Crunch will tear your mouth up.
Yes, it does. It does do a number on the roof of
and it
your
leaves
mouth.
a coating, and I mean, we could talk forever about the do's and don'ts of Captain Crunch. I will tell you who really likes peanut butter Captain Crunch, though.
Who's that?
And that is Dr. Taylor.
Really?
Dr. Taylor does. We've actually had a discussion over cereal.
We'll have to have him back to do a cereal version of the podcast as well. Just a few more facts about Captain Crunch. It is Quaker Oats that created this wonderful cereal. Also, the captain himself kind of co-created by Alan Burns, who is the co-creator of the TV show The Munsters and the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So there's some TV history tied in with Captain Crunch.
So cool.
I'm going to quiz you. Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to quiz you on Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Oh, go ahead.
Do you know that was the first show that, how do I say this? You remember Lucy? I Love Lucy, and Lucy and Desi couldn't share a bed?
Right.
Or no, was it the Brady Bunch?
No, it was Lucy and, they couldn't show a toilet on the Brady Bunch. That's why the bathroom.
Goodness gracious. Yeah. So there is some stigma with Mary Tyler Moore Show, too, that was like back in the day. I forget what it is. But
Mary Tyler Moore herself was the first actress to wear pants, a female to wear pants on a TV show, and that was the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Cool.
So, yeah.
And so what other shows did the Mary Tyler Moore Show spin off?
Well, there was Rhoda.
I loved Rhoda.
There was it Phyllis with Cloris Leachman?
Was Cloris Leachman? Wasn't Betty White?
Betty White was on there, too. She was like the cook, the chef on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. I don't know if she had her own show as a spinoff of that. Then there was Ed Asner, Lou Grant.
Now we're going old school.
We are going old school.
So we bounced from 68 to 72.
Yeah. The Gen Xers in the house talking cereal and all kinds of TV nostalgia. Do you know Captain Crunch's name? He actually has a name.
Is it Herman?
It's not, but you're close. It is Horatio Magellan Crunch.
Aw, he has a name.
He does have a name, and I think, we all called him Captain Crunch, and he's from the boat that he captains is called the Guppy, and he was born on Crunch Island.
Cool.
So,
in another fascinating part of the cereal box is look at the Saturday morning reading that I would do. Yeah. I love this box. We may just keep it.
Yeah, Mandy Hannon and I, when we did the Monster cereals, we talked about, back in now at breakfast, you can sit and do this. If you're listening, you don't see what I'm doing, but on our video version, I'm holding my iPhone up and reading that and scrolling through that. But back in the day when you were kids, even as an adult before smartphones were a thing, I'd be reading the box of cereal and figure out that, there were puzzles or games on them, or you would do the ingredients and figure out exactly, or try to figure out what you're getting.
Now look what you have on there.
Social media.
Social media.
They have a nice Captain Crunch has a nice social media presence. So I gotta give them props for that as well. But with the sugar coated cereals, I knew people back in the day, kids back in the day, that would add sugar to. Oh, okay, so yeah, you're not one of those sugar fiends. What about milk? Dr. Teskey was on a while back, and we had honey nut Cheerios with almond milk. What kind of milk drinker consumer are you?
I was whatever my parents bought.
Yeah,
and now I don't drink milk.
So I think we talked before we started recording. I was always, and my mom was like this too. Pour a bowl of cereal, pour some milk in there, eat the cereal, milk still in there, more cereal until you eat it until there's no milk, so you don't have to drink it, and then of course waste it either. But I've kind of changed on that through the years. I'm not as adverse to milk as I used to be. This is, if anyone is monitoring the milk consumption, this is 1% milk, so it's a little better for you, but it's definitely Captain Crunch is, and especially without the berries, this is going to be a unique experience for me. But I always liked the chocolate cereals because then you had chocolate milk, and so then that made it more tolerable too.
Well, and that's the joy when Dr. Shelby shares her Fruity Pebbles. The way I eat Fruity Pebbles is I would pour the cereal in, pour the milk over it, just enough, and then watch it just soak up, and it just becomes this rainbow mush.
Yeah. Well, and with Captain Crunch, obviously crunch is in the name. We talked about the destruction it does to your if you let it sit for very, very long amounts of time, it starts to kind of degrade. But do you like your cereal more on the crunchy side versus letting it soak in some of that milk?
I like it both ways.
Yeah.
I'll start off crunchy and then let it soak up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good stuff here for sure. And so here at Shawnee College, we start early. I think you start earlier than most of us, but do you have time for breakfast these days? What's
Nope.
on the menu for Tina Dudley?
I'm addicted to iced coffee.
Oh, okay.
So I will make it in my Keurig and just put ice in the cup and just medium roast and nothing special.
Yeah.
But I can't ever finish the whole cup. So I'm not a worldly coffee drinker either.
Yeah. And around here you got to be, I think, drinking coffee or caffeine or something to keep you going, because I always, get into the mindset, and I'm almost 2 years into higher education, and I always say next week is going to be the week that I catch up on XYZ that I didn't get done this week, and next week never really comes. And we talked about your long job title, and you're, wearing many hats here as the assistant to Dr. Taylor, but also the assistant to the Saints Foundation, and we have a new director, executive director in place there, and John Winding. So things are finally kind of working out on that side of the fence too. But talk a little bit about day to day for you.
Day-to-day work?
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Who wants to hear about that?
Well, I think that people...
They forget kind of what...
People here who know, but I think that, the Saints Foundation, for example, what is the Saints Foundation?
So originally when I was hired just to be 50% for the president and 50% for the foundation. So fast forward 3 years, and I've been 150% and 150%.
Yeah.
We all go through growing pains and, a lack of an executive director. So, but things still move forward. You still have to make things happen. So my typical day, begins about 6 o'clock in the morning. I always tell people that I'm on 24/7. By choice, it's not an expectation for me for that, but I monitor 2 to 3 different email boxes. All of Dr. Taylor's direct reports have specific ringtones. My email boxes have specific ringtones, so when I hear that through the night, even all of the board of trustees have their own ringtone.
Wow.
And I respond to those based on who it is, and the trustees will know who they are because, we all operate during a 24-hour period. Some are morning people, some are late night people, some, get up at 4 a.m. and they have that first hour for reading. So I really am on 24/7.
Talk to me about, I got a couple questions. That work ethic, obviously, where'd that come from?
Oh, definitely my parents.
Yeah.
Being, when we moved from Florida, I was, I like to say I was born in Florida, but I'm not a Floridian. 6 months, I was there. Mom tried to drown me in the Gulf, but, it's okay. She let go of me. So we moved what I call up north, and so I still have family that lives in Joliet and Aurora and Plainfield on my mom's side. So we were there about 4.5 years. So we moved down when I started kindergarten in Anna. So this is my home. Southern Illinois is my home. So when we moved down, my dad actually came back to college. He came back to Shawnee Community College.
Oh, nice.
And got his degree in political science.
Wow.
So you can probably imagine being the firstborn with a father who liked to not argue, but always bring up controversy, and he liked to have discussions. He's still a very social man to this day and still has a lot to say. And so my siblings weren't born until 7 and 9 years later. So it was me and my parents and my grandparents who lived just right across Highway 51. So on top of my father coming back to college, my mom worked. My dad also had 2 other jobs. Plus we farmed.
Oh, wow.
So I am titled, my parents call me the son they never had, and they treated me that way. So weekends for me were spent in the winter and pre-winter and cutting wood out in our land and bringing it in. I always make fun because Dad had a tractor, the tractor had a trailer, the trailer was a truck bed. So that truck bed held the chainsaws, the mauls, the axes, all the stuff, and me. So, we go haul off into the woods, and we would spend our time, just that physical labor was constant. Freezing, but you reach a period of cold where you're not cold anymore.
Yeah.
So that was it. And when we would take a break, when I was allowed to take a break, sorry, Dad, take a break, then it became, we would identify all the trees on our land. So as leaves bud out and as the seasons changed, my dad knew what trees were based on the bark, and then I knew based on the leaves.
Oh, wow.
So, there's always learning, there was always something going on, not just being.
Right.
So that's where my work ethic comes from.
That's good. That's always that solid foundation at home, I think makes a big difference in our lives. And speaking of foundations, transition back to the Saints Foundation.
Nice segue.
Yeah, so, I think that there's maybe people don't understand, maybe don't know exactly what the Saints Foundation does. Because even though there was a period there without an executive director here on campus, there's a board, and then of course you were there kind of monitoring things as well. But there are scholarship opportunities, the regalia or the cap and gown that our students wear at commencement, the Little Saints Book Club, some of the community education things. Those are all in part or because of the Saints Foundation.
Right. So with John, I'm so grateful to have John Windings on board. He has a lot of history, having been on faculty. I mean, he is a whirlwind, just like me. I always say I gotta tap him in because he's like a ball of water and hot grease because he's all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing. So he has come in this week, Monday and Tuesday, and just for an hour and a half, and we've talked. I hate to say I'm training him, but it's kind of like
getting him acclimated
to, because he has some pretty hefty and specific goals set by the foundation board, but also set by him. He wants it to work. So he sent me a text Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, and basically apologizing because he has so many questions. Well, you don't know what you don't know, and you need to ask. So there's no silly question. There's no question off limits. But he also said, and unfortunately, Tina, you're all I got, for training. And I'm like, okay. I didn't take it the way that sounded when I read it in text. But so the foundation, yes, we have some lofty goals, and I'm glad you bring it up because I don't think people are fully aware of the foundation, its overall presence, and its overall commitment to the student. It's kind of deemed a fundraising arm of the college, but if you look, we really haven't had any fundraisers. So when I came on board, it was during COVID. So not only have I had to learn and then be flexible without there having been a gala or a dinner or something, but that stuff is in the works. We did manage to still do the golf scrambles, but the funds raised through the golf scramble are specific to athletics and that entire program. But for me, the most important part of the foundation are the scholarship opportunities. While we've lost a few just based on those donors wanting to manage their own through their own companies versus the foundation, there's my last count, there's $60,000 to $80,000 that the foundation provides to students on a yearly basis.
Mm-hmm.
So the big part of my job is keeping that communication with each and every one of the donors.
Mm-hmm.
And for 99% of them, I have a personal relationship with all of them just because they want their dollars to go to the students with the most need, their specific programs that they want to support. So there's a wide variety available.
Yeah.
And on a daily basis, I get asked, how can the foundation help student A, student B? I mean, this is a daily occurrence.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is always yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why it's here.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's here. And so, and eventually we will have John Windings on the podcast as well to talk more about
Mm-hmm.
that. And like you kind of teased there are big plans coming up
Mm-hmm.
for fundraising events and activities, which will be amazing. And I can't wait to share that information and those details as well. The other 150% that you're doing is working with Dr. Taylor, which
Yes.
is, I'm sure, I've seen his schedule. He's, he's another one that's here early in the morning, and then as people
Late
are
at
leaving,
night.
he's still here.
Yep.
And so, being a college president, and I know people, the misnomer of community college versus university, it's all a very arduous undertaking, especially here at Shawnee. We've talked about the changes in education and the things that have changed here at Shawnee Community College, specifically with Dr. Taylor, so check those shows out in the archives, and we'll continue to have those conversations, but he's a very busy man.
He's a very busy man. He is very busy. I feel like I'm part of his family. I am his family. I mean, he'll jokingly say, and he has shared with all of his wife, Missy, and her family, he refers to me as the work wife. And it really is a relationship to where I am tied to his family because there are, those types of gatherings. The man won't take a day off.
Right.
So it's Missy that's like, hey, Tina, he needs these days off, and because she's making plans and their family. I mean, trying to maintain some normalcy.
Yeah.
And Missy herself is a very busy woman. I mean, she is involved in her student council. She's at District 37 and in it. So she herself. So I guess two busy people together make it happen.
Right. Yeah. And so, we were talking earlier about recording more podcasts with Dr. Taylor as we're gearing up and kind of having some stuff to be distributed out and go out every week during our break. And even though there is a break, for some break. It's not really a break.
Yeah, there's no break. And he was so funny because he came in. So he saw the box on my desk earlier in the week. So that's how I know he likes the peanut butter version.
Oh, okay.
But then this morning I said, I'm going to get ready to go do my podcast. And he's like, I thought I was doing mine today. And I'm like, no, you weren't. It's just so comical. And he's like, right back to me. And I'm like, okay, dude, we're going to have to punch it down a notch.
There's plenty of time to podcast. Oddly enough, this week has been kind of a slower one for me in terms of being able to catch up on some of that stuff. So cranking out a few podcasts is always a good thing. And we've been talking about it long enough. And I know this doesn't make the best audio and video visuals. I'm just going to pour a little bit. If you want to try it on air, feel free, Tina. But if not,
I think I'll pass.
She's going to pass.
I would just want it dry.
You're going to, okay. And that's another thing, too. I can remember with the kids, when my kids were little, sometimes it would just be some dry cereal, whether it was
you just put
Honey
it in
Nut
a
Cheerios
Ziploc bag.
or Captain Crunch. And this version of it without the Crunch Berries is easier to do that, I think.
I did not. Look at how much smaller these are now.
They are very small.
They're not.
I haven't had Captain Crunch in a long time, but man, that just
brings it back.
That memory, that nostalgia. Saturday morning cartoons or getting ready for school. And, you know, I think as we get older, we all try to eat healthier or make better choices. And one of the things that we've cut out is the high sugar cereals. Every once in a while, I'll pick up a box of Cocoa Pebbles or maybe some Frosted Flakes or something, but it's usually now Grape Nuts or Raisin Bran or, you know,
something that you
Honey
need
Nut Cheerios.
now that we're older.
Something a little healthier and better for us. So, but Tina, is there anything else you want to add about Tina Dudley here for this week's episode?
I think I just want to promote, you know, growing up, kind of circling back to my work ethic. And I mentioned that my siblings are 7 and 9 years younger than me. And when they came along, my parents still both worked. And so I became like the mom.
Yeah.
And I still refer to my sisters who haven't hit 50 yet. It's coming. But I still refer to them as the kids. And I think I was about 26 years old when I went back to college to get my degree in occupational therapy. And some may ask, well, what are you doing here? But I took a child psychology class. So growing up in a small town, everybody knows everybody. My sisters were the kids. To me, I was born older. People always say I was born older and more responsible. And so with that, I sort of assimilated my parents' point of view of the world and that perspective. So I was kind of like dumb, you know, and not worldly to things outside of my little world.
Right.
So when I took that child psychology class at another institution, sorry to say.
It's okay.
Because I wasn't in this district at that time. Dennis Young, I believe, was the instructor, J-U-N-G. Do you?
Oh, I've heard the name.
Yeah. So he was the teacher at that time. And it was like I had this epiphany. It's like, wow, I can think differently, you know, and have a different opinion than my parents. I did the things I thought I was supposed to do when I graduated high school. I immediately went to SIU. I immediately went to a 4-year school. I lasted 3 semesters. I couldn't do it. And so in looking back, I just want to encourage everybody who thinks, you know, they have to immediately go to a 4-year institution. You don't have to.
Right.
You know, the community college is the way to go. It sort of gets your feet wet and gives you the perspective that you can think differently than your parents did. So that's probably what that's
a big, you know, when you're that age, right out of high school, having to figure out what you want to do with your life, but then also, and I don't want to say fight with your parents about it or argue with them about it, but, you know, you kind of want to appease and follow that path, but really, like you said, that's what life's all about, is getting out there and getting those experiences and learning what works for you.
Right.
We don't all learn the same. We don't all work the same. You know, I have 3 kids. One went straight to university. One tried the JUCO route for a bit and it didn't work. And he's back here and going to Shawnee College. He went through the electrical program and is doing some online courses now. And my youngest is a senior in high school and will be going to university too. So, you know, they are all raised under the same roof by the same 2 people who had the same experiences, and so, yeah. If you're a student or a potential student listening to this and pondering the future and wondering, take that time to figure out what's going to work for you, because the worst thing you can do is get saddled into something and then 20 years down the road regret it.
Right.
So
definitely. And you know, my parents always instilled, you know, furthering your education. And parents, I think, of that age and that era were like, I don't want my kids to be like me, you know. But for me, being the oldest, that's all I ever wanted to be, was like my parents.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you talked about that manual labor, you know, on the farm and doing those kinds of things. And that's, you know, that's the other beauty, I think, of Shawnee Community College is you can choose the, you know, more academic route, but then there's welding, and there is
so many awesome
truck driving and all the certificate programs,
Yeah.
automotive and cosmetology, things that you can do and make a livable wage here, staying here
stay
at
right
home.
here.
Yeah.
And do it in less than a year.
Yeah.
And sometimes less than 3 months. So,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Learn here, earn here. Dr. Taylor kind of coined that phrase
Yes,
during
he
our
did.
first episode, and it has stuck. So I firmly believe in that. And so I want to thank you for
Thank you.
sharing some advice and sharing some Captain Crunch. Friends, we want to hear your opinions on your favorite cereals. Let us know what's in your cabinet right now and what we should try on future episodes. And as always, if you have questions, comments, or concerns, email podcasts@shawneecc.edu. Have a great week.